Okay, so here's the scenario, right? So this is a new tournament, like a Vimana City International FIDE Chess Tournament. Here, the entry fees was itself as a kind of costly, and moreover, the this is the first time I'm playing actually playing in this range actually. The entry fees was about the 5,500. Yeah, the living. I mean the yeah, this is a five days chess tournament, and I have never played in this amount. Okay, so okay, since the amount entry amount was quite huge, so I expected the players would be kind of strong, and moreover after the tournament got over, right? So um, each and everybody was quite too strong actually. So this the first round. First round was kind of underrated. The but actually seeing looking at the FIDE set, right? Like um, so actually while I was padding against him, this guy was actually basically um, underrated. But after seeing the result here, 10 initiative, 16 points up. So here my opponent was 1433. 1433. I say you can see this one. So either way, anyway, I started with a knight of three. I just want to play some kind of middle game. In for knight of six, and for b3, in for g6. Okay, so the g6 is thought for 30 to 40 seconds, and he split g6. Okay, the time control for here is 90 minutes plus 30 seconds increment. So 90 minutes is basically, and from more number one, you'll be getting 30-second increment. So what I actually expected was he's actually trying to get a king c setup or pick defense seven as a setup which he actually prepared. And for bishop b2, bishop g7, g3, d6. Okay, this clearly says it's a pick defense setup, right? So yeah. So pick defense or king c and setup. Anyway, this is what I said trying to do. So the next move probably is going to play d e5, e5 or c5. So this is how basically king sin and setup will be. So that's my point basically. Okay. So here I was just thinking about bishop g2, d5 or d3. So there are so many things I can play. So if I play c4, so this will be going to some kind of Nimzovich variation or something like that. I have d4 too. I have bishop g2, or I can play d3. So these are the moves which I was actually thinking. But I ultimately went for d4. The reason is I just don't want him to go for any kind of preparation. I don't want to go for e5. I can simply takes and exchange the queens. So generally, I don't say I don't want to go for the exchange in the queens. The reason here I want to go for exchange the queens because uh, let's say he went for c5, takes. Now I'm having a beautiful night jump. Let's say he was yeah. So this knight can attack the f pawn and checking the king and rook. So there are so many things actually going on. Moreover, I can actually all I need to do is develop this knight and I can go for 000. So without the queens, I should be doing better against these type of people. Even for bishop f5. Bishop f5 is actually kind of awkward. I should tell me. Bishop f5 is too awkward. So the okay here bishop f5 comes, right. So what? Okay, firstly he doesn't have any plan. Secondly, what we can do. So if you ask me, I don't have any plan either. I can simply go for bishop g2 and castle, which I did in the game. So the reason behind bishop g2 because my double fianchetto is the initial plan. So, moreover, bishop f5 is kind of awkward because once I play bishop g2 and if my knight moves suddenly like knight h4 attacking this bishop to make this pawn as a double pawn, this pawn is actually kind of weak. This bishop is actually eyeing the rook. So, this is kind of dangerous. The black needs to be kind of careful. And for bishop g2, knight c6 immediately, just covering this one. Okay, not bad. And for a3, so actually, generally the low rated players, right? They just go for simply one more attack on knight b5, attacking the c pawn, checking the king and a rook. They're trying to do one. So so I just don't want. I just want him to think a little. So the thing was, he was actually playing some kind of too many quick moves. A3, even for queen d7. Okay, queen d7. So ultimately, another plan is to come to bishop h3, trying to take my knight square bishop. So here I can either go for bishop h3, h3 g5, knight g5, trying to remove the light square bishop, or this is what I did in the game, d5. So he can go for knight here. So takes bishop. So in, or he can go for knight here. That doesn't look good, right? So he can go for knight here. That doesn't make any sense. So this is the only move. Even anyway, I felt kind of comfortable here because my this bishop is quite good. This bishop is also quite good. Generally, my theory says when you're playing for white, your task bishop doesn't do anything. But in this case, your task bishop is kind of good. I mean, much better than opponent's task bishop. So I went for h3, e6, c4, c4. I was not sure, but I can have to say if I just simply take and tried, he will have gone for this one. If I didn't take it, so probably he'll be in a pawn up and he'll play piece c6, and yeah, my game should be equal, but it's kind of too risky to place. And just leave a pawn in the center at the stage. c4. Okay, this is a scenario. I was literally sleeping over the board. This is a real scenario. After I play c4, I was kind of sleepy because the reason is this tournament actually happened in wherever it happened. I don't know. Okay, it happened in some place actually. I just don't remember the place. It happened. It happened in. Okay, I completely forgot. Okay, yeah, it happened in Tanjavur. So what actually happened was I booked a train from Bangalore to Tanjavur. So this is scenario. So there was a family in my train. Here, what actually happened was they were keep on talking at the early morning 5 a.m. The train was in a 30 minutes delay. So what I thought was anyway I won't be going to sleep. So I didn't keep an alarm at 5:30. 5:30 I should be landing at Tanjavur. So what actually happened was 5:30 the train did land and I mean train did stop at Tanjavur, but I slept and I woke up at the next stop. I okay, I literally uh, landed in Papanasam, uh, the area which I've never heard of. So at early morning 6, I was actually taking a bus from Papanasam to Tanjavur again, which is a waste of money if you ask me. Okay, that's my mistake actually, but I did sleep well. That's it. Yeah, I did sleep a little. So at this board, right? So this was actually the okay. If you actually imagine my position, so what actually happened was uh, I was really hungry at the early morning for 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. The thing is, I got into the train at 7 p.m. at Bangalore, which means you ate the dinner at 6 p.m. at Bangalore. So it is kind of evening time. This not that was not actually dinner time. So you were really hungry at 5 a.m. 6 a.m. So I got into Tanjavur at 7:30 or something. So at 8:30 I book a hotel room, and at 9 I went to eat breakfast. After breakfast I was really tired. So after breakfast the tournament started at 11. I just sat and okay, I was actually sleeping in the boat. Basically I was sleeping. This guy immediately took bishop take b1. This knight is in the place in which I kept my head at. It, this the way he took this piece, right, it literally gave me heart attack. The reason is I was too sleepy and the sound is like an atom bomb. He was too confident. I literally thought, did I do some kind of peace blunder or something? Because that because anything might happen, like knight takes pawn, knight here. Okay, anyway, his bishop is hanging for right now. So yeah, while you're sleeping, right, you might have think the king is on d8. King he might have castled earlier, something like that. So I was literally went to a shock, and this moment I really woke up. So in for c6, okay, I started to think, okay, how to get a winning question from here. So this is the scenario, right? So how to get a winning position from here? So what I actually trying to do is I want to get an edge or a position which I can push this guy for a win. This guy was around probably 12 or 13 years old. This guy is kind of young. I castle, he castle. Okay, the castle was kind of snake. I wanted to take the pawn. So okay, the generally in a low return mind, right? If you ask me how low return play means, they play in a style that they just want to exchange all the pieces and go to endgame and just get a draw. So what I thought was I expected a pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. So this is a really bad position for black. The thing is bishop takes knight, bishop takes bishop, queen takes pawn. This position I can push into win. So the reason if he plays over here, I can simply go for queen here, knight here, rook here, something like this. So yeah, this d pawn will be weak for sure. Okay, this is just a blunt calculation which I was casually calculating over the board because I want him to take the pawn, but he simply castled. So okay, that plan didn't work. Takes. Ah, this b takes is I didn't even expect it. The reason for taking the pawn because once he should taken this with this knight right. So what my plan is play c5 d5 on okay knight c5 d5 knight here. So yeah, this was my actually initial plan. If he try to break this one, I have some simple moves like this one. So yeah, I did have few moves in mind. So here after play rook d8 right. So what my intuition was at some point, not here, at some point I can simply sacrifice this bishop. Maybe here, maybe after this pawn moves or something like because this bishop is actually eyeing for queen. Sacrifice this bishop for taking two pawn and yeah. Okay, okay. Uh, let's go for h4 something. e5. Now sack this takes. Okay, let's see he did like this one. Just to illustrate my point. So the moral of the story is I'm actually a pawn up. That's the moral of the story. So or I can simply uh, leave leave the pawn like this and keep on pushing something like that. So I'm just having some kind of ideas. So this was my initial idea for taking the d into c6. Otherwise, what do you want me to play? So I want to keep as many pieces as possible, and I also want him to pressure. Clearly, he doesn't feel any pressure because the thing is, he has a 1 hour 15 to 1 hour 20 minutes. I was actually having 1 hour, so he was actually 20 minutes late, and he was actually playing too quickly. I am trying to think. I'm trying to think too deeply to create some kind of chance. He was actually playing something casually. Being diseases was kind of unexpected. So okay, now the entire thing was changed. So I'm having knight d4 attacking this pawn simultaneously at a time. But things it doesn't work immediately because this knight on d8 I should support this one, right? So I can't choose this move immediately because he will see this move coming. So okay, this move is actually kind of over. So what I was actually thinking is b5 c5 maybe. Okay, if I go for c5 immediately, he will just push this pawn and block this one. And this c pawn is actually no longer that weak. It might be weak, but not weak. Not that much. So yeah, I kept in that mind because once you move this one, right, this is a position you need to play for a long time. So yeah, my father used to say that top players like they used to think for pawn moves so carefully because once you move the pawn, there's no coming back. So yeah, I actually calculated something deeply even for g4, which is obviously inaccuracy, but who cares about the inaccuracy? The plan is play g4, play g5, and just exchange this task of bishop. So the other reason is he is obviously going to go for rook b8, and and going to attack this b pawn. So the only way for this knight to develop is mm, knight b7, knight c5, or knight a5, something like that. Either way, he's going to attack the b pawn. So this is one thing which I kept in mind. So what I thought was, while he's going to attack this, let's say this imaginary this knight has been on c5 and the rook is be on b8. So what you'll be doing is you'll be going for bishop takes knight just to protect this pawn. So what I thought was, okay, since generally opponent's dark square bishop is too strong, why not try for the dark square bishop? g4, t5, queen c7. Okay, there were some kind of reasons behind queen c7, because what I thought was his knight is going to jump here or something. Uh, yeah, I don't know what I was actually thinking. This tournament actually happened a long time ago. I really don't know for sure what I was actually thinking. Yeah, queen c2, rook b8, rook d1, knight b7. Okay, this is what I told you, right? So okay, before playing this knight one, so I thought was bishop here. He'll simply move the rook for c8. Firstly, he's not even thinking. Secondly, yeah. So okay, what are the black plan? The plans for black is knight a5. This is the only plan. Or you can go for knight e6, knight d5. This is also kind of good. So okay, the reason behind my uh, knight e5 is, let's say his queen moved to d6 or here. What I should thought was reroute my knight and put this bishop here and trying to, okay, okay, let me explain in the next few moves. So let's say we should do some random move here. I can simply pin this queen and rook and just take one of the pieces. Obviously, this is a stupid idea. I mean, actually better than no idea actually. But moreover, this is kind of a stupid idea. The reason is, um, this this is kind of straightforward. Like, you're literally telling your piece is going to come inside. In for knight is initially. So I really didn't think much. I just took this bishop. I casually play b4. Okay. The reason behind b4 is I expected another inaccuracy of a5. Actually, the leeches didn't say a5 is an inaccuracy, but according, if you ask me, right, a5 is actually kind of really bad move, which he played. By the way, the reason behind a5 is bad move because once I took this pawn, this obviously blunder, but instead of the blunder, right, no matter what he plays, I have a6, I have queen a4, so to take this pawn, this is not that easy. So whatever he's going to play, I can simply push this pawn in the next move. That's my point. So yeah. So how is he going to take this pawn? So obviously my pawn is weak. He is going to take this pawn one way or another. Moreover, he's having a check. So what I thought was, okay, he will take this pawn, but by the time he's going to take this pawn, I'll be having some kind of good compensation. That was my initiative. But he simply blunder. Okay, well and good. I can see I can easily finish this game and go to my hotel room and sleep for a few hours before the next round. This is what I was basically thinking. For queen c3, king b8, rook takes rook. Now take the knight. Okay, what he actually thought was, okay, he thought I blundered. The reason is, if I move my knight right, actually my rook is hanging. That's something like that. But the thing is, I can simply put my knight on b2. If he takes my rook takes knight, I will take rook takes queen. If he takes a rook takes queen, I will take knight takes queen. So this is basically he can't actually win his piece. So in for queen here, knight here. So first win this one. This position actually decently recent. Generally, kids will be playing for hours. So moreover, there is nothing to play. He's going to lose this piece one way or other. Let's say you go for rook d8. I'll just take this pawn. Yeah, one way or other, he's going to lose this piece. So there's nothing to fight here. So after this, I went to hotel room and I slept. I kept the alarm this time. The alarm didn't ring. That's another funny story. But luckily, before 20 minutes before the round, I woke up. I rushed to the tournament hall, but I didn't eat for lunch anything. But I was too fresh. I never felt this much fresh before before round. Okay, this was a I mean, woman candidate master. Vakada Sanskrit. I think she's from Maharashtra. I think. So I was paired against her. The thing, okay, the downside is I didn't eat anything. Okay, but the huge advantage is I have never felt this much fresh as before because I slept really, really well before this run, probably 2 or 3 hours straight. So I was feeling too good. So she went for D4 and for knight f6. Okay, this is the now round number two. This is the last round for day one. Knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bg7, g3. This is a really, really upset move for me because if you actually see my database, right, this is the one of the opening which I lost too many games. So you play e4, f4, 4 pawn attack. That's not an issue. E4, f3 variation. That is also not an issue. E4, h3 variation. That is also not an issue. But this variation, the reason I lost so many games because there is no king side attack. You can't actually go for a solid king side attack in this opening. Castle, bishop g2, d6. D6 actually kind of forced. I I can go for d5 because I will losing a pawn immediately. So and for d6, knight f3, knight d7. Okay, generally I can go for d5 here. Takes e5 takes c5 something like that. C5, bishop b2, bishop d2, queen c2, queen d3. Okay, there are so many lines. Even queen b3 also there is a line. So I'm not going to debate about it. So I had an idea of d5, but the thing is I was too fresh, right? Okay, why not go for a classic king's Indian? If I lose, I learn something, right? So I'm too fresh. So the other reason is that it is kind of a trigger your opponent psychologically. I mean, not right now, but after some moment, white won't be feeling any kind of attack. But since she's actually probably 200, 300 points higher than me. So this is the first thing it was like, okay, how am I going to win this position? I need to crush this opponent. So to to create some kind of advantage, there is a chance white men make mistakes. Okay, let's have some fun. Knight e7, castle, c6. The idea behind c6 actually I learned it from bit defense. So just don't ask me why. Okay, c6 basically stop. Sorry, knight e5, knight b5. So that is the reason why I played c6 in the first place. B3 was such a kind of interesting because if if I was in a situation, I will have played b3 because generally black assumes bishop will be going for bishop e2, but there is another sneaky variation in which go for bishop b a3 because once I push this pawn right, this will be weak. So takes. If the bishop is on a3, bishop takes the rook. So there are so many ideas here, and moreover, the b3 generally, if I'm really good at the opening preparation, b3 I should take any opening preparation out of the book. Because if you should see my games against lower rated players, right? I used to do double fianchetto. So just to make the game complex and just to create some kind of advantage. And for rook e8, okay, queen c2. Okay, now this is the time to break the center. I can simply okay I can also play queen c7 that's a different story. But what's the point of simply wasting the time? And for e5, e3. Okay, there's another move which he can play that is actually e4. E4 was actually played in some kind of round number 7, I think. So round number 7 or round number 6, actually, yeah, one other round which I lost, I think it is round number 4, I think, against a 1900 player. So he played e4. The game went interesting. I blundered the last. Okay, I will talk about the day 4 later. Okay, let's come to this day 2, right? So yeah, here for e3 supporting the pawn. So and for knight f8. for bishop a3. Here, bishop a3 doesn't make any sense. If you ask me, bishop a3 doesn't make any sense. What is this bishop actually doing? So this knight is actually guarded by queen. This knight is guarded by all the pieces. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You should, okay, the only way I'm going to blunder this pawn by moving queen to b6 or something like that. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Bishop a3 is just a move which loses tempo. And for bishop f5, queen e2. I mean queen d2. Okay, knight e4 was an inaccuracy, but if you ask me, that is actually kind of good move. So the reason is, okay, engine say play pawn push. I did see the pawn push. So the problem is, once you push the pawn right, let's say your opponent go for knight h4, knight e, knight a, knight c2, anything, irrespective of anything. So what you are actually trying to do? Pawn push, just close the game. Okay, after closing the game, you won't be getting anything. And yeah, there's no any plan, because once you do the pawn push, okay, pawn push, right? So your, let's say the position getting closed. Let's say pawn push 98, pawn push. So yeah, engine says it is -1. Okay, how are you going to get an advantage? It is kind of too hard. If you ask me, it is really really hard. The reason is light square bishop is kind of doomed. Technically doing nothing. Dark square bishop is not doing anything. Knight is also not doing anything. Yeah, the engine says okay, let's go for h4, h5. I really don't see anything here. I don't see anything. Okay, okay. Engine is going to go for g4. But if I should look at it, this portion, right? If you ask me, it is kind of really hard to be sure that this position actually works for black. So what I actually did was, I went for 94. The key idea for 94 is just to eliminate the light square bishop. Okay, so the main key idea is just to eliminate the light square bishop. So how am I going to do it? So once she take this knight, right, bishop takes knight. How are you actually planning to remove the bishop from the square? Because if you're actually trying to move the light square bishop, I'll simply take this knight. So one thing she can do is, she can go for queen d2 and then go for bishop h3, but it doesn't make sense because this bishop is not going to do anything. Like similarly like this bishop. So what I thought, but this is actually a good move. For for rook here, takes. I was actually really happy in this position. The reason is, if you eliminated your opponent knight square bishop, right? Even if I miraculously loses d pawn, the game still will be equal. I can actually okay. Let's go for here. Okay, this position is actually not equal because the queen, rook, everything's here. But okay, never mind. Okay, generally d6 pawn is actually too strong. Okay, never mind. I was just analyzing few variations. So okay, so I thought there will be pawn takes pawn, queen takes pawn, king g1, something like that, and rook here. This portion is quite too fine for me. But here's the twist, which I never expected in my entire life. This is queen b4. I was completely shocked and stunned. So this is the position which we both, no, not we both. I had 38 minutes, she had 45 minutes, something like that. Here I started to burn my clock. Here my position, yeah. For the next move, I literally thought for about 10 to 15 minutes. My clock was about 25 and she was about 45, literally half the time higher than me. So the reason is, what are the ideas you are having? So you can go for queen b6. That is one idea. Okay, let me explain the idea for white. What white want is, if my queen goes like queen c7 or something like that, she's going to take the pawn. This might be equal at this scenario. But since I don't have a light square bishop, so this rook is already attacking this pawn, like a invisible attack. Let's say like an invisible attack. So all she needed is, she might put a double rook, and one way or other, if I make a single inaccurate move, my this pawn will be falling. And after this pawn fall, she's going to push this for a win. So I saw this idea. This obviously that position is equal. Even if I lose the pawn, that position should be equal. Like this 2 pawns, this is 2 pawns. One, two, three, four. This is one, two, three. So pawn structure, end game, middle game, everything should be equal. But why give the chance? So okay, if it's the really worst case scenario, if you really couldn't find any other move, okay, that's not fine. That's not so bad. So other thing is, I can simply go for a5 queen here. I didn't see any idea after that. So okay, other variation is I can go for knight here. Sorry, knight here. Queen takes pawn. Knight pawn takes. Pawn takes. Queen takes. This bishop is under attack. So once this bishop goes, I can go for rook a takes it. I don't know whether it's stupid or not. These are the lines which were actually going inside my head. So after some reason, I didn't like the 96 variation at all. So yeah, the other problem with 96 is 96. You can simply press e5 takes your queens. Okay, sure, not so bad. But you, yeah, this position is not so bad. But for some reason, after a long pick, I really don't want to go for 96 here. So I had Queen C7. Queen C7, she can simply take the pawn, which I obviously explained. The other problem with this time, not only this piece is weak, she can reroute the rook. Rook C1, let's say your queen goes up there. Now rook C4, something like this. So plus this b pawn is already weak. So your queen should be in the D file for an entire time. And moreover, yes, I think the knight will be rerouting. So there are so many things actually going on my mind. After a long thing, I went for rook b8. So the reason actually I did see rook b8 initially. So the reason I didn't go for rook b8 initially, because once queen d6, right? Once queen d6, I can take this queen take. Now I need to move the rook again. What's the point of making the rook moves again and again? I really didn't like it. Moreover, this let's say your bishop is here, she can simply push the pawn. I didn't like that position either. So yeah, after a long thing, I went for she went for knight f3. Same idea again to create a center pawn. So here I am for a5, which is a really good move. What she should have done is she should have gone for uh, queen e8. Okay, this is what I was should basically basically thinking. So what am I actually supposed to go? This what actually I thought. This is the variation which I thought. Yeah, obviously she is going to double it. Uh, she can't take it. She will pin it. Yeah, expected. Yeah. Anyway, I'll be losing a pawn. That's a different story. So it is what it is. So this is what I was thinking. What she did first, she played queen d6 blunder. I did blunder. That's a different story. Asha was too tired at this time. Asha, I had 20 minutes. She had 35-40 minutes. Actually, 35 minutes. She is always having 12 to no. I didn't have 20 minutes. I had only 12 minutes at this question. She had 18 to 19 minutes. So here I can actually think deeply. What the variation which I was actually considering was knight e7, bishop f8, which trap this bishop, which is the best line. Obviously, this is the best line. I didn't miss it. What? Okay, let me tell you what was actually happening in my mind for a long time. Once she started playing queen, before I spent a long time in this area, right? So my ultimate aim was to take this pawn takes pawn, just to just to get rid of this pawn from the center. This was the plan from the beginning. So so once she played this one, right, I did saw 97. pawn takes pawn. Okay, 97 pawn takes pawn, bishop here. But in my imagination, right, once the pawn takes pawn, here there's a light square pawn. I mean white pawn is here. But my imagination was really, really horrible at the. It's not actually complete time pressure, but since I was too low on time, my imagination was too horrible. It was in horrible in the sense. What I actually thought was 97 pawn takes pawn, bishop f8. I thought my pawn is here because my entire goal was to take this pawn to pawn, right? So I thought once I play bishop takes f8, she will take queen takes 9. Queen takes queen, rook takes, bishop takes, pawn takes. So yeah, the reason because pawn takes my dark square pawn is here, right? This is what I was actually thinking, in which obviously my thinking was really, really horrible. My imagination was too horrible, so I missed the idea entirely. And for pawn takes pawn, blunder versus blunder, queen f4, knight e6, queen takes pawn. Okay, here I spent 3 to 4 minutes in other time pressure scenario. We made this moves quite quickly, and I have 40 minutes. So here I went to 9 or 8 minutes again. She had probably 16 minutes before I played queen f6. Okay, I was actually thinking queen f6 for a long time. I mean, took a long time to make sure I didn't make any blunder. The reason is, once you play queen f6, you are allowing your opponent rook to come into the 7th rank. Generally, rook deserve to be 7th rank. That is an basic endgame rule. Because generally in the 7th rank, almost all your pawn lies. Right? So you are allowing your opponent to attack. The other variation which I considered was queen c8. Or firstly, queen c7 is a blunder because one bishop takes the rook on the spot. Queen c8 is the move which I consider. Here she can play like this. So yeah, what if you go for queen c8, the entire game will be going entirely defensive. So you need to be too good at defensive, which I'm basically not. I'm good at finding engine moves, but my style is not a defensive style. My style is kind of aggressive style, positional style. I need to keep all as many pieces as active as possible. This is my style. So thinking in that way, queen f6 is a good idea. So she went for rook here. I push the pawn. She can't take this pawn easily because there's a check. I will take the queen. So she needs to play queen c2. Queen c3 doesn't make any sense because I can simply take queen c1. She really have a problem. b4 trap this bishop. So yeah, g4 traps bishop. So queen c2 is the only move. Now push the pawn. For the record, she can't play bishop b2. My queen bishop is actually lying on the b2. Bishop c1. Okay, if you should see this position clearly, your opponent Dasko bishop is a dead bishop. The question is, can you push the game for a win? Generally, if there is a rule like after 30 or 40 minutes, you would be getting additional 30 minutes something. I might have win this game instead of drawing this game. So yeah, that is my honest review. So once you play bishop c1, right? I have few ideas. One of the ideas is going for queen c, just exchange. But I'm really not sure of the in game because you already allowed their opponent to go for rook d7. She's obviously going to go for double rook, and your two rooks are not that good. Okay, you can go for the exchanging of one rook, but how are you going to push the game for a win? That's a really good question, right? And after some time, yeah, the game is actually dead equal, but I don't want to go for end game. I want to keep the pieces as much as possible. So, and for rook b5, which is an inaggressive move, but I really love this move. The reason is this rook is basically doing nothing. But once my rook come here, right? Rook c4, rook c3 or something like that, or rook h4, rook f5. There are so many tricks are going to be there. So that's my point. So there are so many tactics is going to be there. So I don't care if it's not an engine move. So what is an engine move actually? Queen takes knight. Okay, c5, c5, f5. What's the point? If you are actually trying to do something, which yeah, she is also a good player. If she has, if she actually has a rating of, I mean, she has a title of WCM, right? She is obviously 2000 rated at one point. That is the only way you are going to get a WCM title in the first place, or your performance rating should be about 2000 at some tournament. So that is how actually you are going to basically you are going to have that kind of rating. So you really don't want to go for this one and actually trying to get for a win. Actually, pushing a win for me actually is kind of risky because you are already actually some kind of a minute shot. Like I was actually having 6 minutes, she was actually in 12 minutes. This is not good. But on the upper side, her pieces is not as good as mine. So that would be fine. She doubled it quickly. Okay, I like the way she actually doubled it quickly. Not because it's actually my helping my position or not. The thing is, she is really having a wonderful idea about some kind of positional idea. So what she actually understood is this rook is not going to do anything basically. If I'm going to go for rook c4, she can simply go for queen e2. If I'm going for rook f4, she can simply go for again. So wherever I'm going, she can simply defend it easily. So if I want to actually create some kind of attacking opportunities, I need to I need to create it in a way that she couldn't find anything. So she didn't care about my rook b5, rook c5, queen e2, rook h4. So here comes the idea. There are so many things now. There are knight of a sack, rook takes sack. Hey, just the point, just the understanding point. Another variation, queen f, okay, queen f3, queen h3, and then knight f4, something like that. Something. Just trying to create something for rook h5. I literally have 4 or 5 minutes left. So she did spend some time. Shan h3, queen f4, queen f5. Here I almost have 2 minutes or 3 minutes. She can go for g5, which she obviously did. Here I blunted queen e3, queen e4. Okay. I blunted because I was having time pressure. So what's the actual scenario is, um, what I should play was queen c5, which I completely missed by the way. But what else I missed is queen e5, pawn takes rook, knight check, pawn takes knight, queen takes queen, rook here, queen takes rook, knight takes rook, so knight takes queen, rook takes queen, rook check, bishop f8. So since this pawn is here, right, bishop e3. I calculated up to this point. I completely calculated up at this point. I thought, okay, so she needs obviously another move to trap my bishop. I can simply go for f6, f6, king f7. The reason is, and the other thing is, she can go for bishop h6. So because there's a c4 blocking her own bishop. This is what I thought. So I thought this one on the spot. What I actually missed is queen e4. She blundered obviously. She also missed the line. So if you take this rook right, uh, takes queen here, takes. Sorry, not this one. Rook here or not now here. So what the problem is? She's going to bishop c5 one way or another. I can't go for rook c1. She'll take the thing, take my rook. So I realized too lately. Too lately means after the game only, obviously. I didn't see it on the board. So yeah, if you can play f6, bishop here, you are losing this piece. No matter what, you are going to lose this piece. Yeah, nothing to be said. You're basically losing this piece. Okay, I was kind of upset to miss I mean, I literally imagine everything perfectly, and I missed this one. Okay, uh, I really mm, didn't like it. So she played Queen E3, which really surprised me on the word board. What I actually thought was, pawn take rook was a one move. Yeah, you are playing in a time pressure. You can only see few lines, right? So I basically thought pawn takes rook was a one move. She played Queen E3. Now there is no way that I can actually play this game with the queen. I didn't see it. So I took the queen, took rook c5, rook here, bishop c3, rook here. So basically I'm trying to reroute the knight. Rook rook here. Okay, I want to exchange. I can also go for this one, right? Yeah, this is this one. Mhm. Then which means your piece will be too inactive. So okay, the reason is my knight wants to be active. Moreover, I hope there might be some sacrifice chance in the future. Not now. The bishop is actually covering. Here, she did leave the sacrifice option, but she was too lucky that my pawn structure was too weak in the queen side. So yeah, nothing to be done. So check. Yeah, she should have taken the pawn first. Uh, this so is should have been gone. Okay. So she wants to keep the time pressure on over on me. She had 8 or 7 minutes. I had 2 or 1 minute. I mean, yeah, I was actually playing the entire game for 40 seconds. Actually, I'm pretty sure I was actually uh, here. I had almost 1.5 minutes. I bought all the 1.5 minutes. Literally, I played the last move at 7 seconds or 3 seconds, something like that. Yeah, this the move. What I was actually thinking, why I should took one 1 minute 20 seconds while I was actually having 1 minute 30 seconds in this one. I whatever actually basic thing was I'm having a safe move as rook d1, which is going to give me a 30 seconds on the spot. So that won't be an issue. So what I was actually thinking was why not take knight x h3? Go greedy, get another pawn. The problem is so you can simply tell kg2, you can simply go for f. Now that's not how it works. Knight x h2, king h2. Knight x f2, bishop takes rook. Knight takes pawn. Okay, let me show the board. K takes h2. Okay, here knight takes rook is there. Okay, I did see this one. Rook here. She can simply play f3. Now my piece is stuck. So okay, I need to go for f5. The idea behind this after king takes rook, I have some kind of f4 area. So I didn't see everything. If you ask me honestly, I I I know that there is some kind of f5 f4 area. So but I was not sure what was actually going on. So at the last 3 to 7 minutes, I just throw my rook to d1. But obviously, instead of actually me calculating knight h3, if I should spend some time on my rook e2, I would have winning on the spot. So rook e2, she can't take the rook, fork these pieces, which means she will be losing this one. So this is the only move. Takes, takes, takes. This is clear cut winning. This is clear cut winning. So yeah, you can't stop anything. You clearly can't stop anything. This is clear cut winning. You can't do anything. Basically, you can't do anything. One way or this is winning. So obviously, I missed it again. Yeah, you don't have any time, right? If as I told you, right? So if after 30 or 40 minutes you'll be getting a 30 minutes increment, I would have won this game, obviously. Sure, sure, okay. I didn't have any time. That is the only reason I played Rook even. Just to please don't ask me why I played. I just want to make a move. Anyway, my pawn is actually hanging, right? So yeah, I clearly can't do anything. Yeah, F5 was an idea. I'm just not sure of anything at this position because She can jump at any scenario. She can reroute the knight at anything. Plus, she's actually 6 minutes. Yeah, she was actually having 5 or 6 minutes more than me. You are actually playing 40 or 50 seconds. So you don't want to risk like this. So I just went for here. Rookie, I love the rookie to move. The reason is I was playing time pressure. I already don't have any plan. She's playing. If she had taken the knight takes pawn, right? I can simply go for this year. So I can simply rearrange my knight. I can actually I can make an increment of 1 or 1.5 minutes higher, such that I can think. She wanted to be a rookie too, such that she wants me to think. And for KG7, so okay, let's say my the reason behind the KG7 is, let's say I'm actually moving this bishop somewhere else in the future. She can simply block the session row and she can go for checkmate sequence, which is really bad. So let's say I'm doing something that there are checkmate sequence. Okay, this is actually a famous checkmate sequence. I've seen this one many times. For KG7, she went for G5, same area, just blocking everything. So here I just immediately went F6. I want to increase the time. Actually, obviously, bishop takes. I mean, king takes F6 is the best move. I'm just not sure of anything. So the reason I didn't play king F6, I thought was rook bishop is coming here and she's actually activating the rook miraculously, something like that. So I don't want to get I don't want her to give that opportunity. I went for bishop F6. So okay, yeah, this is a force move. Yeah, this is a force move. I did consider this one, but I really didn't like it. I really didn't like it. You are allowing the rook inside. You are allowing the knight here. Everything you are allowing. Uh, if you are actually missing some of the calculation, you might do something that's really hard. Like let's say rook here and rook takes bishop, something like that. I mean, obviously, I'm going to take this um, pawn immediately. So just saying, right? So yeah, knight here, rook here, something. You need to take knight takes pawn. You can't take rook takes because that's the bishop takes. There are so many complexity. I just went for bishop. I just went to knight if immediately. King here. Okay, I didn't miss a3. I was actually playing in 30-40 seconds. Actually, I really didn't think much. I just want my rook. Okay, what I analyzed so far, right? My rook went on 39th move. This is move number 48. For the last 10 moves, this rook didn't do anything. So instead of keeping the rook on a1, hoping that she'll be blundering this pawn, I thought, why not play it around the middle of the board? That's how rook ending generally goes, right? For here, she went for a3. Okay, what I know is there's a chance I might lose a pawn. And for c takes. Okay, now I have 45 seconds. I have two things. I either go for rook a1 or rook b1. Rook b1, I thought this pawn is actually immediately falling. If I take this pawn, this exchange this pawn, right? I'm clear cut good. This position something is going to draw because my pawn structure is much better than her pawn structure. So I'm not going to lose if I actually exchange this two pawn for that two pawns. So if I rook here, she for rook here. This is the moment I know I'm going to lose one pawn for sure. You guys going to see how I'm going to lose the pawn. This so I lost. So I can't take this one. There is a check, and she'll be taking this one. Even if there is not a check, she is actually rook b5 pinning this one. So either way, I am going to lose that one way or other. So for bishop here, I was expecting this inaccurate moves that. So this is the question which I offered a draw, and she accepted on thing. So the thing is, she was actually here I was actually having 1.5 minutes. She was actually having 45 seconds at the moment I asked for a draw. So firstly, this pawn is falling. Once this pawn is falling, right, this pawn is going to fall one way or another. It is really, really hard. If you want to defend this one perfectly, you need to give this pawn. So if anybody is going to actually push for a win, it is going to be me. Right. So she thought for 2 or 3 minutes and she just, okay, draw accepted. This was kind of a huge ready, but I knew actually I missed some kind of winning opportunity. After that analysis, I saw, oh my god, I made three blunders, which is really bad. Okay, overall day one went really well. I learned a lot of things from this game. Yeah, so day one went really well. So yeah, the graph is kind of bad, but the accuracy is around 85% accuracy. Okay, this is for today, guys. Actually, yeah. This is for day one. Day two, I will do a recap on day two once I'm free because right now my job and everything is actually kind of tight and I couldn't actually spend much time on chess or anything else. I will definitely do a recap. Yeah. Bye.